What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another Four Corners for today's 5-game NBA main slate, courtesy of Osmo.com and presented by Super Draft. Today we've got ourselves a 5-game slate that's a lot more complicated than our usual short slates because of all the injuries and news out there and news we need to know. So we need that power of positivity now more than ever. So right now, please hit that like button. And if you want a chance to win a free month of Osmo Plus courtesy of Super Draft, like this video and comment your top value play according to Draftkings salaries down below. Yesterday, nobody guessed Quinn Cook correctly, but you can get back on track today by liking this video and commenting your top value down in the comments below. But I'm still sick and I've got no voice left, so we've got no time to waste here in the Four Corners. Let's get right into our first corner of the top owned plays in Donovan Mitchell in the game at New Orleans. There's 114.8 implied points for Utah. Mitchell has 26% expected ownership on Draftkings, while he has 32% on FanDuel. Mitchell has been down lately with 6 out of his last 7 games at 36 fantasy points or less, but his price is down industry-wide, and the pace and New Orleans' weak 110 defensive rating will give him a chance to bounce back as chalk. Another top owned play on FanDuel in particular is Giannis Antetokounmpo in a game versus Boston where there's 116.8 implied points for Milwaukee. Giannis has 24% expected ownership on Draftkings, while he has 50% on FanDuel. The many questionable statuses for Boston make this game a bit of a risk after they were blown out at home versus Detroit last night, but Giannis is priced reasonably well on a slate without many studs to consider. And our last of the top owned plays is Kawhi Leonard in a game versus Orlando where there's 113.5 implied points for the Clippers. Kawhi has 23% expected ownership on Draftkings, while he has 43% on FanDuel. Kawhi continues to average 1.6 fantasy points per minute in court time without Paul George, and he exploded for 61.25 fantasy points in 29 minutes in his last game versus Cleveland. Though his rising price and Orlando's low pace and decent defense can make his margins a bit tighter today. And now for our next corner, here are some of the top value plays on the slate, starting with Monty Morris in a game at Golden State where there's 108.5 implied points for Denver. Jamal Murray is out and Morris will start, but his price is up on Draftkings, and if he rises to one of the chalk plays on the day, there could be some risk to the average just 0.6 fantasy points per minute when on the court with Nikola Jokic. Another top value benefiting from injury is Dario Saric in a game at the Knicks where there's 114.5 implied points for Phoenix. Saric should see additional minutes thanks to Kelly Oubre's absence with very low prices industry-wide and possibly less ownership than Mikal Bridges, so he'll start for Oubre. And another top value is the aforementioned Mikal Bridges in that same game at the Knicks where there's 114.5 implied points for Phoenix. Bridges also projects as decent value, but he could find himself overowned as a low-usage player moving into a high-usage unit after he had 34.75 fantasy points in 33 minutes of his last game. And now for our next corner, here are some other core plays on the slate that I'm looking at, starting with Ricky Rubio in that same game at the Knicks where there's 114.5 implied points for Phoenix. Rubio returns to the lineup after the birth of his son, and he averages 1.2 fantasy points per minute on the court with Devin Booker and without Kelly Oubre, with a very reasonable price going against the Knicks' 111.5 defensive rating. And on the other side, another core play for me is Julius Randle in that game versus Phoenix where there's 111.5 implied points for the Knicks. Randle's price is up, so he'd be a more comfortable play at volume if Marcus Morris misses again, with over 20 shots in his last 2 games without Morris. And another possible core play is Brandon Ingram in that game versus Utah where there's 110.8 implied points for New Orleans. Ingram is a game time decision, but he had 56.5 fantasy points against Utah 10 days ago in the same situation without Drew Holiday, and he'd be appealing with his high usage if he's in the lineup despite the tough matchup on paper. And now for our last corner, here are some lower owned dart throws that I'm looking at, starting with Marcus Smart in a game at Milwaukee where there's 107.8 implied points for Boston. Smart is the kind of unashamed shooter who'll take the looks that Milwaukee will offer him as the team's worst 3-point shooter, with the potential for more opportunity if Jason Tatum and or Jaylen Brown miss the game. Dart throw is a pivot that I'm into is Will Barton in that game at Golden State where there's 108.5 implied points for Denver. Barton averages 1.3 fantasy points per minute when on the court with Nikola Jokic and Monty Morris, and he's a pivot away from Morris if he becomes chalky in a very high upside spot versus Golden State. And our last of the lower owned dart throws is Jordan Clarkson in that game at New Orleans where there's 114.8 implied points for Utah. Clarkson has seen steady minutes and over 31% usage in some games off the bench, so with chalk ownership going to Donovan Mitchell, Clarkson's success off the bench is one way that Mitchell could underachieve. So that's what I'm seeing so far for today's 5-game slate. There still has a lot of news out there, so right now, please hit that like button if you want that chance to win a free month of Osmo Plus courtesy of Super Draft. Like this video and comment your top value play according to Draftkings salaries down below. And as always, those free months of Osmo Plus come courtesy of Super Draft, so right now head over to superdraft.io and use that promo code OSMO to get yourself $20 free with a deposit of $100 or more. So go right now to superdraft.io or download Super Draft from the App Store and get your $20 free with that promo code OSMO. And to celebrate Conor McGregor's return to the Octagon, use this promo code UFC246 for 1 week of our MMA All Access Pass for just $1 at osmo.com/join. Conor McGregor breaker's back, so get yourself some proper 12, get yourself nice and lit, and make some lineups across the DFS industry. A lot of big tournaments going on, so use this promo code UFC246 for 1 week for just $1 for MMA projections and data. Go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. A lot of people were following me, won some money last night. I got a lot of nice tweets from people out there, so I can only presume there's some sort of correlation there between following me and winning lots of money on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Spags. I'll be back on Live Before Lock later today with Fast Eddie Fear, struggling to talk throughout the course of an entire hour. Thank God Eddie will do that for me, and I'll be back again tomorrow for another Four Corners. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great night, and as always, good luck.